From the Fans Talk Wrestling family at fanstalkwrestling.com, this is episode 10 of Fans Talk Lucha. It covers Lucha Underground Season 1, Episode 20, which aired on March 25th, 2015. My name is Garvin, and as always, we are joined by my wife. Say hello, wife.
Hi, wife.
Fans Talk Lucha is a podcast series that is brought to you exclusively by the paid members of the FTW community. You too can become a member and help keep this show funded. Just go to fanstalklucha.com, click the big green button, and pledge $1 a month or more. Alright, so some shoutouts before we get started. Shoutouts to DJ Clean Styles, Arctic Wolf 00, and B-Megs for continuing the conversation through comments over Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube this week. Also, shoutouts to Barger3K, who got married last week.
Congratulations.
Good luck, sir. Good luck. Also, DJ Clean Styles, he clarified from his wall of rage last week. He wasn't necessarily upset with the fact that women were heels, but more or less upset that Lucha Underground doesn't seem to, they seem to be playing both sides, Sometimes it's suggested that we should feel sorry for the women. Other times it's suggested that they're in the wrong. There's not enough clarity. So overall, I mean, I can see that, especially with Katrina, when she gets knocked down, you should feel sorry for her, but then she's the one getting herself into the fight. So it is kind of hard to tell. But at the same time, I mean, that's humanity.
It is. I think it's also, I don't want to say lazy writing because she's not a main character, but that's the kind of writing you expect when it's someone who doesn't have a really strong storyline. Yeah,
I mean, she is the center of the story, as she technically is playing both sides, but at the same time, she isn't the main focus. The focus is how these two wrestlers are dealing with her. But, with us, regular humans, we all have our gray areas, so it's kind of hard to see a character as a pure heel or a pure face. You don't really have that in real life. So
sure.
I like that this is a little bit more realistic in that sense.
Yeah, in real life, no one is ever all bad or all good. Except for me, I'm awesome all the time.
Well, on that note, let's go into what happened this week. We started off with a video package that I thought was interesting because it basically put the Puma and Cage match, the El Patron and Tejano match, and the Ivalese, Son of Havoc, and Angelico match all on the same level. Like, it wasn't just building one at a time, it was building all three of these feuds in one video package, and I thought that was neat. Because obviously you've got two title matches, but then you've got this almost equally as important feud between Ivalese and Son of Havoc and Angelico. I just thought it was interesting.
I wasn't watching that video package. I was eating jambalaya.
It was pretty good, though. It was a good jambalaya. So we started off with Angelico versus Son of Havoc. We were told by the commentary team this was going to be the match that ends the feud. Not sure about that, but basically we learned a few things. One, Vampiro does not like Ivalese at all.
No one does. If you listen to the crowd, I felt good about this.
If you listen to the crowd are chanting Ivalese.
Well, at the beginning.
Yes, at the very beginning and halfway through the match for sure. But
this match actually made me feel good about my hatred of Ivalese because I just don't like her character and her voice is so grating, and I was feeling kind of bad for being judgy, but then I realized about halfway through the match that even the announce table, they just wanted her to shut up. And that's, I think, the same point the crowd turned.
It's odd because, the announce team does have some bias here and there. They play the face role at times. Vampiro does go and back the heels every once in a while, but this was totally anti-Ivalese every single statement.
It was great because at one point I was chanting, punch her, and the announce table said it at the same time. It felt like it was the first time I've ever agreed with them at the same time.
But we also learned that, I've known this for a while, you've known this for a while, but not everyone has, and that is the idea that you do not tug on a man's beard.
Oh, no.
Ivalese learned that this week.
That's the beard version of, how you don't unmask a luchador? It's the same level of disrespect.
Yeah, you do not tug on a man's beard and yell at him.
No, you don't do it in anger.
No. So, but we did have the most epic way to win a match, and that was as soon as you climb the top rope, you grab a mic, you dump your girlfriend, and then you hit a shooting star press.
Yeah, that was a pretty good ending.
What I thought that they were setting up was that Son of Havoc was going to dump Ivelisse and then miss the shooting star press because it took him so long to do this entire, scenario. But no, I'm glad we can finally back Son of Havoc like we have been, and now he's winning.
His reaction at the end of the match when he said to Ivelisse that she was the one holding him back, it reminded me of that moment when Phoenix grabbed the stone and got that power. It was that same kind of charge of energy when he dumped this baggage.
Yeah.
And let's talk about, speaking of irritating women who are bad, Ivelisse, there's something about her that reminds me a little of, in WWE, Vicky Guerrero. It's not just the voice, it's the attitude. And I wonder what it is about her that makes me not like her, because I love Vicky Guerrero. She's a great character you love to hate. She's nasty, she's evil, she's mean. She's got that horrible voice that she uses to full advantage. Ivelisse is similar. I don't think she's bad enough. We've been talking about how the women look like they're heels in Lucha. I think that with Ivelisse, for me to like her, she would have to go total, full-on heel. Like, I want to see something really evil come out of her. I think at that point, I would be able to reconcile all the things I don't like, because she's a good wrestler. Giving her a good, strong heel storyline could be a lot of fun.
Her voice isn't as grating, but it's up there.
It's the Chicago accent. It's pretty bad.
Well, if you really want to make that comparison, I think that the main difference is that while Vicky was the super mega heel, she was obviously having fun with it.
Yes.
And she was laughing when she would make her foes embarrass themselves or put them in bad situations.
She'd say the nastiest thing with a big smile on her face.
Ivelisse is just angry. And it's really hard to tell, like, why is she angry? Like, we don't really have that motivation yet. We don't have that explanation of why she is as, pissed off at everyone.
Not only is she angry, but she's arrogant with very little to show for it. I mean, she had a couple good matches and she's a good wrestler, but to walk in with the attitude that she's the best thing on the block is really unfounded. So yeah, I don't know where it comes from, and I hope we see a little more out of her, but I hope we see something more extreme, because her just being a vaguely annoying character isn't working for me.
Technically, she's not the best thing on the block. She's the baddest thing on the block. There's a difference.
Sorry.
All right, so after that match, we basically went right into a Tejano versus Alberto El Patron.
No.
No?
There was a segment.
Oh, yeah! Right. Backstage, Cueto signs a new roster member. That member is Hernandez.
Who?
Yeah.
Who is that dude?
Hernandez is a wrestler, of course. He competed in TNA, so I'm very familiar with his work. Good wrestler, good big man. He actually looked like he lost a bit of weight. He was a lot thinner in his face.
He seemed kind of trim.
Yeah, so I'm excited though. I think some good things can happen with Hernandez there, but it's another big guy that he's kind of fast, but he's nowhere near the speed and agility of like Cage. He's like the in between as far as big man go. He's the in between of Cage and Big Rick.
Well, you say he's trimmed down, so maybe he's been doing a different style of training, and maybe he'll bring some new moves that you can be impressed by.
He can fly. I've seen him run and jump over the top rope, like a suicide dive that you normally see in Lucha Libre matches. But it's like a flying shoulder block. So it's not like, a splash or anything like that. So, I don't know. Time will tell. Because it could have just been the style that he had in TNA. Obviously, it's a lot more freer here, so we might see some cool things. So we'll find out. All right. After that, though, we did have the next match, which was the AAA Mega Championship on the line bull rope match between Alberto El Patron and Tejano. This was your first bull rope match that you've seen.
Yeah, it really confused me, because at first I thought they were going to play this hillbilly game called Jerk Off, which is PG, and it's like a tug of war, but you're balancing on something. But that's not the way they went at all. It actually was more just like they were tied to each other in this horrible, limiting fashion.
But it wasn't really even that limiting.
No, it was a long rope.
Yeah, the rope didn't play as much of a role in the match than that you would normally see in this type of match. But there's a couple different rule sets. They talked about this in commentary as well. Normally the rule for a bull rope match or even a strap match is like a 4 corners deal where you have to drag your opponent and touch each corner in a row. So, but this was just pinfall and submission. There wasn't a whole lot of, I don't know, it just didn't seem like it had any real effect on the match at all.
It was slow. It slowed the match down because they couldn't really back up far enough from each other, I think, to build up speed to do really, I don't know, fancy moves, what I would call them. And there was a lot of punching and kicking, which I don't like. But at the end...
That should have been expected with this kind of style, because the rope should limit them, so they have to be closer to one another.
Yeah, it was a lot of brawling.
But this rope was like at least a ring and a half long.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why it was that long, why they didn't shorten it. It might have been more interesting if they could have used each other as counterweights. But at the end, they did a really nice submission. Tejano won using the submission. It was very cool. He had Alberto almost like hog-tied over the rails, and it was a good effect. I liked it.
Yeah,
it looked painful.
Was a good move. And overall, this match was actually pretty decent. Honestly, I wasn't really high on the match, but we had like this awesome snap reverse superplex off the top rope. I thought that was pretty cool. From El Patron to Tejano. There was also the table spot, and you don't see this very often, but basically El Patron got super power bombed, which is a power, like any move that's off the top rope is a super move, so a superplex or a super power bomb.
So a super big jump through the table.
Yeah. So it was a super power bomb through the table, and El Patron kicked out. I thought that was interesting. I don't think I've seen that particular spot before.
Yeah, there was some good stuff that I'd never seen before in this match. What I was surprised at was Alberto started out slow, flagging a lot, even from the beginning. And usually when a match starts out that way, 8 out of 10 times, I would say the person who starts out slow wins in the end. It's like they get their second wind, and it's not really a surprise anymore. I thought that's where they were going with this. So the fact that he was dragging ass the whole match that was a surprise win for me. Not that I don't think Tejano deserved it. It was just not where I expected the writing to go.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious about this too. Not necessarily because of that aspect, but because now where do you go from here? Because the whole thing was that Tejano was coming to Lucha Underground to get his revenge over Alberto El Patron, and he didn't get it, and he still doesn't have it. So do we get a continuation of that? Because usually it's the flip side. Usually it's the face guy, the face.
Wait, but Tejano won. How did he not get his revenge?
Tejano didn't win. El Patron won.
Did he?
El Patron, you explained the finisher to us.
I thought the guy in the t-shirt was hogtied.
No.
Was that?
El Patron had an armbar on him. It was hanging over the top rope, and Tejano tapped out.
I thought the guy hanging over the rope was the one who lost because it was so undignified. Wow. Okay, so actually that match did end as expected then. He started out slow and he won the match. Don't even mock me. You know I don't watch a lot of wrestling, except for this.
Anyways, normally when we see these types of stories play out, it's the face that is coming for revenge or, whatever. But he gets beaten down, basically, and he keeps fighting, and he keeps fighting. This is the heel, the Rudo that is going after the face and he keeps losing. So, like, what's the point? Where does that go from there? I'm very curious how they take this, but I'm still not totally into it. I feel the same way I've felt since they've started this, is that I just don't understand Tejano enough to really get behind him or the story. So, yeah.
What we need to see are some more creepy segments where people interrupt him while working out.
Right. Which is what we got next. Hernandez interrupted Puma and Conan.
Why do they do this? It's never like in real life where you're trying to use the bathroom and someone walks in and they're like, oh, hey, I need to talk to you. Or they're never making a sandwich.
Or, hey, nice beard. Or, hey, some drunken statement and I'm talking to random people in the bathroom.
Yeah. No, it's totally unrealistic. I mean, I'm not going to approach a guy who's punching another guy. That's just not how it's going to happen in real life.
Yeah, I mean, wrestlers should know that other wrestlers don't like to be interrupted. I mean, if you're preparing for a match, would you want to be interrupted?
Why doesn't he just send him like a Facebook event invite? Like, hey, let's talk about our secret plan at the cafeteria.
I don't know. You're right though. This is awkward. This particular setup was kind of awkward, but it almost set like some weird vibes that I really wasn't sure about. Like Hernandez and Conan obviously have a history together, so they're friends. Puma seemed to be the odd man out. Like, he's not friends. Like, he was almost like, I don't know. It's hard to read eyes and,
Third wheel.
and mouth. But, yeah, it seemed like he was.
Or fifth wheel.
Yeah, it seemed like he was almost enamored by the fact that Hernandez was talking to him. At least that's the impression I got. Maybe I'm reading too much into his eyes, but yeah, it was just weird. Just weird. But it foreshadowed something for me that didn't occur, but we'll get to that. Puma versus Cage for the Lucha Underground Championship. But this was different. It wasn't for the felt title that they had. It wasn't for the one that they ripped up. It's for a brand new championship, which actually looks like a world championship.
It looks like a giant shiny class ring. Like, Lucha Championship brought to you by Justin's.
It was very big. I wouldn't say it was gaudy.
It was less gaudy than most championship belts look. It was still pretty gaudy.
It was nice. It was classy, I thought. Big. Like, super big.
I still think it just doesn't matter. It could be the nicest looking title belt. To me, it will always look like a class ring.
Once we see how big it is around Puma's waist, I think we'll actually be able to make a firm decision on it. But like
I don't think Puma will be able to wear it around his waist. He's too slim.
Just Cueto holding it, it seemed massive.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, super massive. But anyways, the match. It was a Boyle Heights street fight.
Pollo Heights.
So again, foreshadowing, what I thought they were going to do was Hernandez was going to turn on Puma and join forces with Conan. But that didn't happen.
What I thought was going to happen didn't happen either.
Yeah.
I thought that Conan was going to... I thought he was going to somehow disqualify the match and take his revenge.
Yeah.
With that cane, that sweet cane.
But it wouldn't have been a disqualification. It's a street fight, so...
No disqualification.
There's no rules. So that's why, like, to me, the way that this was all getting set up, in my impression of that backstage encounter between Hernandez and Puma, I thought that that's where they're leading. But, you know, Conan did get his revenge, I guess.
And Cage even did bring Hernandez up to the ring.
Which I thought was also weird. It was like a weird setup, kind of.
How did he know him? And how did he know his relationship with...
I don't know.
I mean, I guess they were standing close to each other,
Hernandez is kind of known. I mean...
In TNA?
Yeah.
Is it known that he's friends?
Briefly in TNA. They did kind of vaguely mention his time in TNA, saying, you know, as far as his, when Hernandez was backstage with Cueto says that, you know, he's not going to put him in this random tag team. He's going to give him, you know, a singles run kind of thing. And that, to me, that was a jab at TNA because he was in a tag team.
For someone like me, it was a little confusing though, not knowing any of the history. It's like, why does he suddenly know that this dude's important and how does he know their relationship?
Yeah. So anyways, I agree. To me, it was all pointing at they were going to turn on Puma, but that's not what happened. Cage, moron. Did you get that?
At what point?
The match. Like the entirety of the match. Like it didn't really seem like he was in it to win. He was in it to, you know, just put as much, put Puma and Conan through as much damage as possible.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was disappointed.
He had the obvious opportunity to win that match, take home the title, and instead, that's when he was taunting, Hernandez, and yeah, then lost.
Well, and I was disappointed because, as I'd mentioned to you while we were watching it, when we first were introduced to Cage, I judged him. I judged him based on his looks. I didn't like his face. He looks like someone I know in real life who's a real bully. And I almost feel like if he were a luchador wearing a mask, I wouldn't have judged him so harshly. But I've learned from watching him that he's good on the mic. He's a great wrestler. He's very surprising, just the athleticism and the speed that he has. So this kind of felt like they were really pulling his punches. And I know I'm not supposed to point out that this is scripted and people get mad when I do that, but obviously it's not this wrestler's fault that he looked like a moron. The writing kind of didn't fill that that spot where he ended up
Oh,
taunting everyone. I think that it could have been organized a little better so it didn't look so obvious like he was just waiting for these other guys to come
No,
win.
I'm talking about the character. I'm attacking the character, not necessarily Cage, as a person or a machine. But yeah,
Maybe he was rebooting.
Yeah, it just seemed odd. It seemed like a weird character choice for a guy who is here for the title and here to punish anyone who he's in the ring with. For him not to take that opportunity to take the title, seemed really dumb.
They could have written that a little better. I agree. And Cage is good on the mic, and I'm a little surprised that it didn't come off more natural.
Well, and again, I'm not necessarily criticizing the story. I'm just saying, as a character, like, I can no longer get behind this guy because he's obviously too dumb to be in that spot. He's brilliant in the ring. He's like you said, he's great everywhere else, but when it comes time to make a decision to be successful, this isn't the first time that they've gone in this direction with him. He also did the same thing last time he faced Puma, and he kicked Puma in the nuts, if you remember.
You could argue that the same sort of setup happened, though, in the very first match with Son of Havoc, when he was taking forever to crawl to the top and then put down his girlfriend, and that worked out well in his favor.
True.
So that doesn't always look so silly. Sometimes it really does work out.
Oh, sure, but Son of Havoc was a face at that point. Okay, so Puma wins. Just because Cage did not take the opportunity to pin him when he had it.
It was kind of a meaningless, empty win.
But we did see a good combo. There was a shooting star press from the top of the ring post to the floor by Puma, followed by a 450 splash through a table that was out on the floor. And then it ended with his weird 630-degree somersault thing. That he does.
Those were incredible moves. I don't know anything about this guy in his non-wrestling life, but he looks like he's an Olympically trained gymnast sometimes when he pulls out these moves. They're incredible. He's so much fun to watch.
All right, win of the week.
I hadn't even thought about that. I think I really liked his... You'll have to tell me the move again, when Puma did that double flip in the air and then pinned Cage.
At the end?
Yeah, that full
I have no idea. I think
double
it's like
revolution.
It's like a 630-degree... I'm guessing. I have no idea.
Yeah, that really caused me... I just stopped and said, wow.
Because it's a 450-degree for the 450 splash, but then he does like an extra rotation or so to hit him with his... I don't know. Whatever. It's cool.
It was
cool
very
looking.
Cool.
My win is going to go to Son of Havoc, finally getting a win.
Yes, good job, sir.
Fail of the week.
Well, okay, so the fail of the week was me not realizing who won the match between Alberto and Tejano.
I think that is very deserving. Next week, nothing was announced, which is kind of surprising. Usually they do announce at least something. I'm sure we'll see maybe more Hernandez, maybe some continuation of Mil Muertes, like where is he now? How is Phoenix doing? Maybe we'll see some continuation of what the Crew is doing, where Big Rick is and how, whatever. I mean, I'm sure
they're going to have a hard time following up these last two episodes because they were very good.
Yeah. And, let's get into that. Ask FTW. You can leave a comment with a question on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you watch us or listen. You can also email questions at fanstalklucha.com. And you can use the hashtag AskFTW on Twitter to get your questions read and responded to. B. Megs asked if last week's Phoenix versus Mill, the casket match was the match of the year. And I think for sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Doesn't matter what company. As you may or may not know, we do some other, wrestling podcasts. We talk about WWE and TNA, and it doesn't matter. This was a match of the year for sure. As it stands right now, at least. I mean, we're only into April. So, Arctic Wolf 00, asked, should Lucha Underground introduce more titles? What do you think about that?
Well, as a not real hardcore wrestling fan, titles don't really add much to a match for me. And some of the titles I don't understand. Like, you'll have an Intercontinental title, but everyone is North American. So, what? Or
a U.S. championship and the past 5 champions have not been U.S.
Yeah, so unless the titles really mean something, like maybe if you had a champion of a certain type of wrestling, like Hardcore Championship or something, maybe so, but just these vague, bizarre titles, no.
Yeah, I mean, generally you have championships based on weight classes, but we've seen so far that it doesn't matter what weight class you are in Lucha Underground. It doesn't matter what gender you are in Lucha Underground. Everyone's got an opportunity to get this top title. So with that in mind, I would say no, we don't need any more titles. There's just not enough time for everyone to be on the show each week. There's not enough time for, I mean, just look at this week. We had 2 title matches in an hour.
I think, too, it tends to limit your matches because you'll have 2 people who really are strong contenders, and then you see them wrestle over and over and over, and then it gets tedious.
So, all right, final thoughts. Just a real quick question. This was episode 20 of Lucha Underground, so we've already watched 20 hours of Lucha Underground. Wife, do you regret any of it?
No, I would do it again, and I'd do it blindfolded.
Well, you obviously have watched it blindfolded. That's why you didn't see who won that last match. I don't understand that statement.
You're hurting my feelings.
All right, don't forget, become a paid... I'm sorry. Actually, we're asking you that, too. Do you regret any of the 20 hours that you've spent watching Lucha Underground so far? Do you feel that this is the best wrestling that's on TV? Let us know in the comments. We definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget, you can become a paid member of the FTW community by going to fanstalklucha.com and clicking the big green button. The FTW community is helping us spend less time worrying about paying the bills and more time talking wrestling with you each and every week. Let's keep the conversation going. You can reach us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, YouTube, as well as the comments on the site. All that information is on fanstalklucha.com. And if you listen on demand through a service that allows you to leave ratings and reviews, please take a moment and let people know that this is where they should be talking Lucha Underground. See you next week.
Sorry, I'm an idiot. Yeah.